just adds way too much weight. Justin, I got to go on a diet plan. Anyways, guys, enough about me. It is Throw It Out There Thursday, and I'm telling you what, we have been in a focus group for the last 4.5 minutes, and we have come up with some futuristic shiznit, all right? I mean, and in order for us to talk about those things, we got to go over to Justin Smith.
Hey, what's happening? Throw It Out There Thursday. First real Throw It Out There we've had in a little while. So because this is more about you guys than it is about us, bring the questions, man. Bring them hard. Ask us whatever you want, and we'll answer it. We're going to walk around the shop a little bit, kind of show you some of the stuff that we're working on today. It's kind of a normal day. A little bit of salt, a little pepper on OEM styles of vehicles out there, right? What else is out there right now? We got a new 4-seat KRX, right?
We do got the new 4-seat KRX, which we are working on right now. Mitchie and I went testing this morning, going to make some changes, and then hopefully go out shortly after the live feed.
But we'll show you that and everything else that's in here. And if you guys see your car, then tell us on the feed. But bring the questions, and we'll stop and go for it, okay? So, Dom, if you got anything you want to throw out on a question, then please do. Stop
Shoe
us.
size.
Shoe size. Me, 13s. Yourself?
12 and a half.
Steve, probably size 15,
11.
according to what his mom told us.
11. Yes, sir.
All right, Mr. I don't fit in the circumcising tool.
Yes.
All right, guys are doing what they do, which is shocks and accessories all day long, man. Today, I think we've got 10 drop-offs, and if I haven't talked to you about this before, we do about 20 sets of shocks a day. So, you know what, Brandon, go down a little, just a hair on music. Normally that's cranked. Let's walk over here and see what Mitch is doing. He's not on the feed today because he's got his hands full doing some test fitting on Pro R components. Hey, Mitchie.
Hello.
Hey, you want to talk into the mic? Sure. Steve's got one you can have on. So Mitch, tell everybody what you're up to today. I know you're test fitting stuff. It's kind of secret new stuff, right?
Top secret new stuff, yes.
Oh, top secret, like we can't show it?
Probably not.
All right, don't show it.
No, we're pretty close to finishing the tie rods on the Pro R, which is going to be pretty cool. So
Sure, also BSD adjustable.
Yep, pin kit as well, inner joints, all that good stuff. So just trying to finish it up.
Awesome. Thanks, Mitch.
Got it.
Feel free to come over and help us out anytime.
Okay.
Steve, Dom,
yes.
any more questions besides shoe size?
We've got some random questions on here,
No,
Justin.
I don't like panties, like wearing them. That was something you asked earlier.
Oh, yeah.
No, but I heard you do.
I
actually.
always ask when I'm standing on a ladder if anyone wants to ask why I'm wearing my wife's underwear. But that's not about me. What's the difference between an RC2 shock and the Fox shocks that come from the factory, Justin?
Well, it depends on the model which Fox shocks you're talking about, right? Because on some of the earlier stuff or smaller vehicles, it's going to be a monotube 2 or 2.5. Compared to that, an RC2 has a bottom-out cup internally, so as the piston compresses, it gets into a bump zone that's tunable. Also, compared to that, you have more adjustability in an RC2. You've got high and low speed compression as well as rebound. Now, if you're talking about, for instance, any of the Can-Ams that come with Foxes, those are internal bypass shocks. The RC2 is not an internal bypass shock. It's not a double tube shock. It's a single tube shock. It gets its bump stage from the internal cup. It doesn't get its bump stage by going past bypass ports. Completely different designs. But a lot of times the RC2 is your only option because a bypass is larger in diameter and can't fit some UTVs. Hopefully that helps you a little bit. Steve.
Yes, Justin, do we have any products for the Polaris Ranger?
What are you talking about? I think, Steve, why don't we follow you? I think you know the answer to that.
Follow me.
Yeah. Why don't you tell us what you got?
Well, we are testing right now, it's pretty much done. A new Fox shock. It is a QS3 shock. It's kind of hard to see because it's under there under the bed. But we do have a 3-position QS3 Fox shock on there.
Tell everybody what a QS3 means.
QS3 is a 3-position switch on the high-speed compression. So you have 3 settings, 1, 2, and 3.
I see. So compression adjustments that are fairly simple.
And it's very dirty out right now because
I
all
was
the
just
rain.
going to say, it looks like you didn't miss any mud puddles testing today, did you?
I definitely did not.
And believe it or not, in Arizona, we do get rain sometimes, so sometimes there's mud. But it is weird, and we don't understand what it is. Clearly, by the way people drive on the road, no one around here has seen rain ever.
Ever.
Horrible in the rain.
Ever.
Dom, what do you got?
What is the difference between our springs and IBOC?
Well, that's actually, it's pretty technical, so I'll try and go through it pretty quick. First off, iBox springs are badass. There's nothing wrong with them. We buy a ton of iBox springs usually for testing, especially if we don't have the rates and sizes that on the shelf that we want. Great relationship with them and zero issues with running an iBox spring kit. Like specifically the materials and how we do things, the materials are the same between the springs. Our quality control is very, very high. Industry standard on a spring when it comes to the rates is plus or minus 5%. So if you've got a 200-pound spring, it can be off by 10-pound rate, lower or higher. So a 20-pound or 200-pound rate spring could be a 190 to a 210. That's kind of industry range. Our QC is 2%. So our springs are going to be a lot tighter tolerance when it comes to spring rates. Also, we've got, when you stand a spring up vertically, there's a degree that the industry accepts, and that's 5 degrees. We only accept 2. So it's a much straighter spring than the industry standard. Also, our springs are what's called cold wound. So a straight piece of material is wound into a spring while cold, as opposed to hot winding, which is easier to do. When you get the material red hot and wind it, that's easy. But the problem with that is then you have to normalize it, heat treat it, and then bead blast it, and then powder coat it. When you do a cold winding, it does not require heat treating. That's just one more stage in the process of making springs that can be a problem. You miss the heat treat by a little bit and the spring fails or sags or settles. So one of the reasons why our springs don't sag or settle over time, only once in the first couple 100 miles, make a set or takes a set and that's it, is because they're cold wound. So in my opinion, the differences between the two are mostly quality. That's all stuff that we request and not something anybody else does. Now, when it comes to spring kits, what IBOC has as a spring kit for, say, any UTV, they're going to have a soft, medium, and hard. That's your choice. You can't separate the front from the rear. Well, what if it's a couple of fat guys in the front and you never put people in the back? Well, you would want stiffer spring package in the front and you want softer spring package in the back. You don't have that option with IBOC. With us, you have thousands of spring options in the kit. All you got to do is tell us what you have. Front people, no one in the back, a whole bunch of gear, spare tires, extra tools, all that kind of stuff. And we will not give you a soft, medium, or hard. We'll give you specifics to exactly what you need and how you drive. So larger choice of spring kits with us of a higher quality spring, in my opinion. But nothing wrong with IBOC. Next.
We're going to talk about the KRX.
Oh,
Nate
this
Pearson.
one behind you?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. How does the KRX with live valve shocks compare to the standard shocks, handling-wise?
Steve, you might be best to answer that question if you don't want me to take that one.
And we have the new four-seater.
So I actually never got to test the non-live valve one. I've only tested the live valve one.
Oh, so that's actually
So I said that would be. But
me.
this thing handles incredible.
So I'll take that one then. So in the two-seater, the difference is considerable. I think that the non-live valve versus the live valve, personally, I would buy the live valve. I would spend the extra money and do it. But then I would also have us do spring and internals to try and match what you're doing. The fact the live valve is taking over, it doesn't know whether it's taking over and adjusting a really crappy shock and spring setup or a really amazing one. So whatever you do to the shock package isn't going to affect the algorithm. It's just getting better all the way around. So between the two, I would do the live. And there is a noticeable difference stock. So you're good there. Other KRX stuff? Right now, where are we at on this, Steve? We're another week and we've got the spring kit all
probably about another
ready for
week.
you.
Spring kit, I think is done. We just got to put it all into paperwork, and then hopefully we're going to valve it today and maybe go out and ride it.
So give us a week, maybe a month on the internal shock settings and another week on the spring package since we're almost done with that. Yes, Dom?
For the race car,
Yeah.
the question is, what intake and air filter setup do you run?
Okay, so for anything that we're racing, the classes that we're in requires a stock engine sealed from the oil pan to the throttle body. So we run the factory intake. And as far as the air cleaner is concerned, we run a factory air box. The reason is that we rotate the air box inlet normally is facing downward, where air is sucked into the air box and then filtered. we rotate that system to where that inlet is going through the firewall, and we're actually getting air from inside the driver's compartment. By doing that, it never gets dirty. That's a clean area instead of being in the back of the car where it's always wound up and dusty. So we can run full races in that thing and never have to worry about an air cleaner getting clogged up at all. Intake is stock. There you go. Now, the only class that allows for an aftermarket intake is unlimited, and the unlimited guys can run all the power they want, and they're just, honestly, if you look at the times, they're not any faster than everybody else. So power doesn't make race winners, honestly. In desert, finishing races does. Steve.
The new remote oil setup, spill it. I believe the person is talking about the ECS2s that we had
The
at the
remote
Sand Sport Show.
Oil cooling system,
I
not
believe
filling.
that's what he's talking about. I'm not
Yes.
sure. It just says new remote oil setup. Spill it.
spill it. I see. So I don't think we have one on a car in here, do we? Do you have a kid over there, Dom? So while he's looking for one, so the remote cooling system, ECS2, just dropped this weekend. Here is one without the badging and without all of the cooling stuff on, or covers and hoses, which Dom might be able to grab. But basically, this right here replaces the external reservoir. Looking for a car with an external resi on it. Everything's off the car right now. Let's go up front where we've
The
got some
X3's got
shocks.
one right here if you want that.
Yeah, but the shocks aren't on it.
Oh, well, the rear. I didn't know if you went on the rear.
Yeah, I was just trying to look for. I'm looking for a external reservoir.
Yeah, right here. I'll grab it.
Oh, right in the back.
That's
There
right,
we
that's
go.
right. That's what
Thank
I was
you,
talking
Steve.
about.
You're way ahead. All right, guys. So this finned, cooled, and check valved cooling system replaces the factory reservoir and the factory hose with from a single hose and single resi to dual hose and dual resi. And what happens with this is oil comes in one side and comes out the other via a check valve system. That is the only way that you can truly get cooling out of an external reservoir, because one thing people don't realize is, see, this factory hose is about, I don't know, 20 inches long or so. The shaft on the shock has only got about 14 or 15 inches of travel in it. The oil that leaves this shock and goes into this reservoir is equal to the exact amount of volume as this shaft. So that means this amount of oil goes about halfway down the hose and comes back. It never actually makes it to the reservoir. So you don't really mix up any of that oil up into the resi where it can be cooled off a little bit when it goes back and forth through that hose. Until you have a dual system and you have check valves where the oil is forced in and forced out the other side, you can't properly cool stuff. ECS2 is the only thing available that will do it. And in dyno tests in heat rooms, it's worth about 60 degrees of rear shock temp. That is huge, because in some of the races that we run, we've got shock temps of 280, 290 in the back, and then about 300 is where the shock's going to fail. So if you can drop it 60 degrees and run around 220 to 240, that's like massive, where we would normally have to slow down because the shocks are too hot. You never have to slow down with this. So the racers are all about it, and you guys that drive really, really hard through the whoops, this is for you. So hit us up. We're the only one with it, and we can install it for you too. Yes, Steve.
Justin, where do you test at? Do you do customer group ride events?
First question, we test locally for fast stuff. We're only 15 minutes away from 2 or 3 of our test areas that are up by, let's say, Lake Pleasant or Black Canyon City, if you know the area. But if you really want to get our test on for a long, run stuff for hours, then we'll go out to Parker, we'll go out to Plaster City, we'll go to maybe even Laughlin. We'll run the race courses where the whoops are big and temps get high and abuse gets high. We'll go out there for 2 or 3 days. Plus, in Laughlin and Parker, there's casinos and there's beer. So 2 or 3 days out there is not a problem for us to test. Oh, next. And do we do group rides? No. We don't do group rides. We probably should. Problem is we don't have time. We're super busy right now. I think it would be a good idea to put it together, though. So thanks for the idea. Dom.
How long do internals on Walker Evans shocks last?
5 feet or 5 minutes. Just kidding. Sorry. Sorry, Walker.
Gotcha.
But the truth is that the Walker internals are not going to last as long as some of the Fox stuff because of lack of internal plating, different style seals, a few other things. Steve, what's your average? Would you say that you've got, say, seal issues in a Walker, resi issues in a Walker, like 1,000 miles, would you
Shaft
say, or
issues.
less?
So after we are done with it, it's typically like after I've rebuilt it, it's typically not that quick. I mean, typically
So
2-3
stock
from
versus
the factory, I have seen them blown with 1 mile on them.
Okay,
So
let's
on,
give
on
it.
average, I'd say probably under 1,000 miles.
Okay.
Easily under 1,000.
So then, after we touch it, what are you changing to make that better?
We're doing better oil and we run a better seal as opposed to factory. So we
Higher
use the
quality
higher
seal
quality
than any of that
seal.
stuff. Yep. Okay, so there you have it. It just depends on how you're driving it, man. But I would say under 1,000 miles is about what I've seen, like Steve has seen for a Walker. If you've got a Fox, you can go all kinds of time on that, 2,500 to 3,500 miles in like race condition almost. Let's walk. What do you got, Steve?
Well, because there's a 200 right here, it's a great question. The one over there has it, but a customer would like to know, when are the shocks going to be available for my Razor 200? I'm dying to get my hands on them.
Let's look at the shocks that are on this 200 while we're over here. So it's a very good question. We have shocks on this one that we created from a whole bunch of other shocks and some machine shop stuff and CNC stuff, and made some shocks ourselves. This package is actually being produced at Fox right now from a manufacturing standpoint, like machining parts and going through a production run. I don't know if I can give you a time. Right now, Fox is really behind. It's going to be a few months.
This car stole the show at the Sand Sports Show. I will tell you that. Sand Sports Super Show, this was the talk of it.
It was definitely surrounded all the time, people in and out of this car. The shocks work amazing, you guys, so it's worth the wait to get these. If I had to guess, I'm going to say 2-3 months, so maybe by the end of the year.
I agree.
Something like that, right?
Well, CJ Martinez says get off the phone with Milo. The guy is super awesome.
Milo is awesome, CJ.
Good job, Milo.
Yeah, you definitely are talking to the right guy. He's badass.
He's rad.
Let's go check out what else we got.
Justin, are you guys racing the Baja 1000?
Good question.
You betcha.
We have not decided yet. The reason that we haven't decided, it's on the calendar for us to race. We're ready to go and do it. The reason we haven't decided is that we were looking at the schedule for everything that we got going on, and from October 1st to December 15th, my wife and I don't sleep at home any weekend during that time. And it's kind of full throttle from one event to the next, to the next, to the next, and we may not have the time to go down there pre-run and race. So it's up in the air right now, but we're ready to go. I know Dom wants to go. All of us want to go.
Tacos.
Tacos for sure.
Justin, what's the latest on the addition to shock therapy in North Carolina?
Good question, you guys. I'm actually going out there all next week. And what we're doing is setting up all of our workbenches. We're getting all the interior for the showroom, slat board, countertops, desk, chairs, all that good stuff done. We're also overseeing some of the general contracting that's happening, which is truck ramps and doors being added, air conditioning throughout the whole warehouse. The facility is 41,000 square feet. So it is as big as all three of our buildings are here. And we're going to be doing a lot more than just shock work like you see behind us. It will be a shipping facility center. So if you order things online and you're based on the East Coast, you get 2-day shipping and much cheaper from North Carolina. So that'll happen, as well as a few other things. Other cool and secret things are going to be happening in that facility, even testing and new products. Dom.
A gentleman named Douglas Brown, he has an X3 on 35s. He uses for rock crawling. Would you recommend all balls 8, RCV trail, or do we use racing axles?
So he's talking axles. Okay, because I don't
I didn't know where he was going with the all balls.
I don't recognize any of those brands, honestly.
I know RCV.
I know
but
RCV.
that's
Yeah,
about it.
so we have experience with three different axles that we like. One would be my first one I recommend, which would be RCV. They've got a great name, larger diameter axle and CB style for your vehicle. We used to race those. Perfect for what you're doing. My second choice would be It would be factory race series. You can get a race axle from Can-Am. It's pretty bitchin'. My third choice would be Summers Brothers or Lone Star, something like that, as long as your width is stock or long travel.
Justin, this question is great because it kind of brought up the conversations we were having earlier about what we want for the future of shocks. He said, do you guys use shock dynos or just butt dynos when testing? And that brought up my button that I was talking about.
Yeah, so Steve, so don't let me forget to answer his question.
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
but we're talking about IQS and some other smart shocks or digital computer-controlled shock technology that's coming out soon. And we really like panic button. We want to add a panic button to the IQS and a bunch of other stuff. So we're in the middle of talking about that. And Steve thought it was a much better idea not to have the button on the finger, but have the button in the butt. And so because it's a clinch factor,
The pucker button.
pucker button, and you had another name too for it. It was a instead of a panic button, it was a pucker button.
And then, what did I say? I don't remember. This
In case you're gonna, it's a rectum meter. I think.
rectum me.
So, what was the question again?
I don't remember. Oh, he said, do you guys use shock dynos or just butt dynos?
That's right. So-
Currently butt dynos.
So we actually do both. We have shock dyno in one of our race trailers, and we do some work with that. And we also work with the Fox engineers too. We can send our stuff over to the Fox testing facility in either Scotts Valley, El Cajon, or Gainesville. So we do use shock dynos to verify a few things. But shock dynos for us are a starting and a finish point. The middle is butt dynos. We get the thing tuned where we like the feel, and then we verify where it was and where it's going with the dyno. So we have baselines and after the fact dynos to back up what we're up to. That way in the future when we change it or sneak up on other tunes, we can go back and compare it. So the answer is both. I'm going this way while one of you is talking about something.
Well, the next
Hi,
question
Brandon.
Hello.
How's it going?
Is shock therapy ever going to completely make their own shock?
No. We're not going to make our own shock. So let me explain that. We get that question a lot. So we work with Fox. We work with Walker Evans. We work with King. We work with ADS. We work with Elka. We work with, name a whole bunch of it, right? We work on everybody's stuff. The second that we made our own shock, we're competition to all of them, and I guarantee you we're not going to get any help. We're not going to get much love, and we might get ostracized a little bit because if I was Fox and we were against them, that I wouldn't like it. So we're never going to build shocks and piss off everybody else. We want to work with everybody else in the industry. That's why we're never building our own shock. We might rather improve stuff that we see and work on that direction all the time. Steve.
Yeah. There's just a bunch of butt stuff on here, and it's just.
Let's
making
hear
me
it.
go.
What do you got?
Well, Ramp Rat says he wants a really big button so he can feel it.
That says I know a lot more about you now.
Me too.
Yeah.
And then he wants to know, does Justin's butt feel different than Mitch's butt? And I can answer that question personally because I touch a lot of butts around here. So that's tight like a tiger. Mitch is also. I mean, they're about the same, but Justin works out a little more than Mitch does. So
Yes.
Yeah.
I got a little bit more grab to the hand.
a little more bounce to the ounce.
That's it.
Any update on the steering wheel IQS switch?
Yeah, actually the development work is finalized and done. We've actually done the testing. Right now we're just waiting for the production versions to come out. And right now, do you guys remember what the latest date for new IQS is? Is it 3 months?
Like the new,
New.
getting it.
Yeah.
I don't want to say what I was told, but it's way sooner than that.
Okay, so less than 3 months, we should have new or IQS 2.0, and that will have a lot of the things we've been telling you about. So there's that. I'm gonna keep walking this way because the inventory area is pretty cool, I think. What do you got down there? What?
Oh,
Behind you?
Is that a tuning fork?
What? Yeah.
Tuning fork?
Are you, in music class right now? You gotta hold the
You
bottom.
gotta hold the bottoms. Oh, there we go.
Hang on a second. There's no mic over there. How about this?
Oh, here we go.
Can you guys hear that?
Fancy.
It'll be like 3 minutes, 3 minutes worth. You guys, these tuning forks, which maybe you can, these things are flying off the shelf. I think we're already through about 400 or 500 sets. And they work amazing. These are coming with their own bump stop now. A lot of people ask us if they ruin or limit some of the travel. That is not true. We have an extension to support the shaft. The amount that this is raised is about 5/8 of an inch. We've taken the compressed distance of a 3-bellow factory bump stop out and replaced it with a shorter version that removes exactly the 5/8 to 3/4 of an inch that we added here. So the compressed length on the shock is the same. No travel loss on those. Yes, Steve, what do you
Hey,
have?
Justin, a lot of people are asking, and I think, I mean, we're in the middle of it kind of, but because there's so many new cars that have come out, are we going to do another comparison video?
Yeah, you know, that's something that everybody asks for and we want to do. It's just tough to line them all up at one time because we don't own them all. So when we did that comparison video years ago, it was just off the cuff because that day we had those cars in the shop. So the next time that we have a good variety here that kind of touches on all of them, then we will definitely do that for you. We are also doing a Pro R review and we're knee deep in it. Should be out in about a month. Steve.
Cody975, I'm going to assume it's Piscatelli. He brings up a really good point. He says, why would anyone complain about extra shaft support? And I don't disagree with him.
No, I think he's spot on. I mean, really, both genders would appreciate that. Just saying. Dom, you had something to add about shafts? No?
No. Good question, though.
Okay.
Joden Weirland, in the terms of feel, what is the difference between nitrogen pressure and spring rate / stiffness? Can you adjust one slightly to compensate for the other?
Nitrogen pressure in terms of feel, the higher the pressure, the more of what's called stiction you get. Stiction is, sounds like a BS word, but it actually is an engineering term for the friction of seals and other things inside the shock that hold it still while you're trying to move it, and then boom, and all of a sudden it moves. Okay, that instantaneous, very small amount of time where it sticks and holds on. You feel that in your butt cheek. It's mostly the chop and the chatter gets really worse because of that small amount of movement is where the biggest difference is. So that nitrogen up and down is going to affect that. Spring rate is not going to have any kind of to it. Little small movements and stiction don't affect anything when it comes to spring rate. Running spring rate up and down is going to change the overall function from in the shock when it comes to larger movements. And the change from single to dual rate or from upper to lower spring, dual rate to single bottom rates, you can make that a drastic change if you're jumping at 300 or 400 pounds between combined and lower spring rate, then it'll go through nice and smooth and and you can almost feel it hit that lower spring. So can you change one to fix the other? I would say not, because nitrogen is pretty much a different animal than what spring feel is going to do, and it is only in those small movements. Now, nitrogen, keep in mind, it is what's keeping the shock internals from going from hydraulicking or separating the oil from itself and creating air pockets when the biggest hits. So you never want to run less than about 150 pounds. Recommended would be 200 pounds, especially if you run the vehicle pretty hard and you get big G-outs. Some race teams run more than that so they can try and keep that hydraulicking process from ever happening. Hydraulicking is also very common on the rebound side when you run too much valving, like some people that we know in the industry, not us. So hopefully that answers your question. Steve is smiling because you love how I point out some little things.
I love it, but no, just that some of the customers are ruthless in here. A lot of them want to know if you saw the video of the Speed UTV jumping and the arm breaking, and they want to know, was that a design flaw or what was going on with that, or what is your opinion on that, Justin? That is the 9th question about that.
So I did see that as I'm walking backwards through a pile of inventory in case you guys ever wanted to know what we have in stock. And this is just what we have in this room is what we need for about 2 weeks. And then this room is filled and replenished with the warehouse, which we've got pallets of this stuff. So the Robbie Gordon question and the video, yes, I did see the video. My opinion is that is very unlucky. I have also seen the chassis design, both early production and early hand fab stuff for testing and new production. And I feel like that area then completely changed. It's unfortunate to me that Robbie was driving that, maybe an older vehicle, certainly an older vehicle with an older design, what he would be a weak spot, break on him like that. I feel for the guy. But everybody should understand that the production version has that repaired, has it supported, and it shouldn't be an issue. So I just feel bad for him because I'm pretty sure that's already fixed and he had to deal with a lot because of that, right? Anything else?
Justin, back up, Dom.
Gosh.
When is your busy season as far as best turnaround? I don't really think we have a slow season.
No, we don't.
We just have a busier than busy season.
Yeah, I think you're right. So in the summer for us, things slow down a little bit because guys put their UTVs away and go to the boats. But usually East Coast and Canada pick up in that time of year. So our dip in the summer is pretty small. Usually we go from 6 or 8 weeks out on our appointments to 1 to 4 weeks out. So it's not that big a deal. But no matter what, all of our appointments are scheduled. So if your date is the 15th, no matter what, your shocks are done on the 15th and shipped on the 15th. So it's always a 1-day turnaround no matter what with an appointment. We just might have a little farther schedule ahead of that to wait to get into your date. That's about it. But winter, right now, we're ramping up. It's getting crazy. Summer,
Season is upon us.
it is. And summer's
Dunes
just
is right
a
around the corner.
hair smaller than that. That's about it. What do you got, Dom?
So would you recommend Ocotillo Wells or Glamis?
Completely different riding.
True.
I mean, 100% different riding. I love desert racing, so I would choose the Ocotillo Wells personally over Glamis, but I love Glamis, and we go a couple times a year. I mean, we normally would have gone 8-10 times a year, but now I'm just too busy. But I love Ocotillo. I love Glamis. I just like off-road better. So,
Agreed.
yeah.
Justin, patiently awaiting a Talon BSD kit. Any word?
So
Being developed.
we're closer. Here's the deal. The Talon kit is a much larger diameter and larger components than anything else. And that is almost exactly the same thing as we've developed for the Pro R. Bigger in every way. So the Pro R kit that we just did and is almost ready is basically becoming the Talon kit. So give us just a few more weeks. Mitch was already cycling that tie rod kit on that Pro R. That's exactly what this is. It's going to help us finish off the Talon tie rod BSD kit too. Same. Go this way.
Same.
Yeah.
I'm going to walk backwards because every time I turn around, I look at my phone and I see a bald spot on the back of my head. And I'm just not about it. I'm not about it.
What else we got hiding in the shop today? You know what?
Well,
we're doing IQS over there.
We're doing IQS on RC2s, Justin, for the Pro XP.
Not only a shock upgrade from the factory stuff, but
That's our last IQS.
it's the last IQS that we have in stock. Is that right?
He just zoomed in on my head. I saw that.
But take a look on the inside. You guys
We're running
can see
all the
there's
wires
quite a
right
bit
now.
that's involved in putting IQS in one of these. That's why we charge a little bit more money. But we pull the interior out. We're mounting the ECU in a nice spot under the dash that controls IQS, and then running the loom, both forward, backward, and the IQS switches on the dash, so you can control everything on the fly. But this would be a pretty sweet setup with IQS on RC2s.
And this is their this customer's second car. The Rodriguez is their second car with RC2s and IQS. They're really good customers.
Awesome. Thank you guys for returning and staying with us. Really, really appreciate that. Let's see, we got a Pro R behind you as well.
That
We've
is
been doing quite a few of those. I'd say probably 2 or 3 a day.
I believe that is Richard Jeffries.
Oh, RJ?
RJ over at Jeffries Performance. We're going to be doing some cool stuff to that.
Is this the Polaris sponsored vehicle that's going to be in a ton of stuff you guys are going to see soon? I heard Dom say it is.
I believe so.
We probably shouldn't talk about some of the things getting done to it because it's going to be pretty badass. You guys will see in a lot of videos, though. That's for sure. Coming soon.
Justin, I know the answer is going to be 2 weeks, so I'll just say 2 weeks right now. But the question is, how much longer for Turbo S high clearance radius rods, Justin?
Oh, yeah. So we haven't even built those yet, to be honest.
2 weeks.
But we should, honestly. Tell you what. I'll put it in my phone and we'll do a prototype set right away. So we actually will start on it. How's that? Turbo S. All right. How about we do rapid fire and get out of here?
Okay, Dom, you go
Anything
first.
quick and easy? So
5
Dom,
lug
if you
versus
don't-
4 lug.
Once you make what do you want? 5 versus 4?
5 lug versus 4 lug.
That means
5
there's
lug.
one extra lug on one car. Stupid.
You're talking. You guys are talking about more nuts.
Yeah,
That's
him.
good. My 5 lug stronger, man. Obviously, more power, more weight. It's needed. 4 lug is fine for stuff that's like 2,500 pounds and lighter, and 2,500 pounds and higher, and more power and torque. 5 lug. There
Pro
you go.
R X3.
What's one?
Pro R versus X3.
Pro R X3. Wow. Putting me on the spot. Okay.
Rapidly.
I've driven both a ton. Both of them racing. Both of them play. I love my Pro R for the torque. I love the Pro R when the whoops and the roughness in the course or your trail gets big. The bigger the issue, the taller the whoops, the bigger the jumps, the better the Pro R works, and in my opinion surpasses an X3. Short of that, the X3 in my opinion is faster. Power to weight is better. But when the whoops are 2 feet and smaller, I think the X3 is a little bit more nimble. It's quicker than 2 feet and bigger on the whoops, and the Pro R stands out, and that's my favorite at that point. Different styles, love them for different things. But the Pro R review in a month will kind of lay that out for you. Steve, rapid fire.
Oh, geez. Do you guys do shocks for quades and for other vehicles?
What is a quade?
Quad.
Oh, quad. No, we don't do anything for bikes, man. There's a lot of guys that already do it, and we don't want to have ourselves riding bikes to test them because these guys are going to wreck, and I don't want to lose Steve.
Thank you, Justin.
Yeah, no bikes.
Somebody does have a question for me, and I will answer this because the more I look at myself on here, the more it's so gross. Are you going to join us in the Bic Hair Club soon? Probably, because look at that, it's going.
Excellent.
It gone.
Good job there, Steve.
Yeah, it's all right. I have a daughter.
Dom, what else you got?
Well, for the 100th time, does Shock Therapy have a Speed UTV on order?
We don't have one on order because Robbie's giving us one to test. So when that happens, I'll let you know all about it. We're excited and looking forward to it.
Hey, Justin, what are your thoughts on the Speed UTV?
So for the 1,000th time, I think the design is amazing. Robbie's killing it. It's taken a while to do because the quality is really, really high, and it's harder than anybody thinks, and certainly harder than maybe Robbie thought to get about what it takes to go into the first one in production. But I reserve all other opinions until we drive the piss out of one, and then I will tell you what we think. Dom.
Are we going to be going over any RS1 topics in the near future?
Probably not because it's been out a long time and it's discontinued. So unless you have something in specific that you want us to talk about, let us know what it is. Maybe we'll do it. Otherwise, probably not. It's just not. There's not a lot of them that are coming back in as they've been shut off. So.
Justin, does the ECS2 demo video show an IQS system too?
I don't know if it does it? Yes, Steve, it does.
does.
Yes, and they can be stacked. Absolutely, you can run ECS2 with IQS. You can run it with almost everything else too. There's a lot of things coming that will go with that ECS2 without any issues and stack right on top of it, double and triple up the cool factor. Dom, you
That's
done?
all I got.
You're all you got? Steve, you done? You want to send one more?
This is a long one, so not unless you want it.
Do it. Then we're out.
Well, it's not a long one, but thoughts on 64-inch X3 conversion. So I don't know why
You mean like going 64 to 72?
or going 72 to 64. What are your thoughts?
So
Maybe they're moving to the East Coast.
it's expensive, man, because you got to buy shocks, axles, all the BS to convert a 62 to 72 or 64 to 72. I think if your choice was I would rather buy one that's cheaper than I would sell my 64 and buy a 72. But if you're stuck on taking your 64 and converting it, then there's a lot to it. Full sets of shocks, which are harder and harder to find, and a brand new set for an X3 is like $6,000 now. You've got arms, radius rods, axles, a few other things too. It all adds up unless you're getting it all for free. So what do I think? Yeah, do it. But I think I'd rather buy one than convert it. Are we done?
We're done, Justin.
Throw it out there.
We can't read any more of these questions. They're
They're
just
too
much.
dirty?
Too inappropriate. Too
Let's
much.
do it.
Nope.
Let's do it.
Nope.
Give it a beep.
No.
Yes. Ask the question and go beep.
It's not a question. It's more of a statement from Ramp Rat. And if
Let's
you know
hear
it's
the
from
statement.
if you know it's from Ramp Rat,
Let's hear it.
If Robbie, if you don't already hate me, here it goes.
Sorry, Robbie.
Are we going to be seeing the Speed UTV on the Harbor Freight showroom floor?
Oh my God, Ramp Rat. Yeah, doubtful. I really, really doubt it. And if it was, I'd still go buy it and drive it. Either way.
At a discounted price?
Exactly. So you guys, thanks for tuning in. And Steve, I think, will probably send us out in style. Steve.
Probably. Hey, guys, if you're looking to buy any of our products, please visit the website, www.shocktherapyusa.com. Or if you got any questions, just call us, 623-217-4959.
Thank you, Steve.